It started with the flicker of a candle on a lion-shaped cake. The kind that makes a one-year-old's eyes light up like stars in a clear Texas sky. The backyard in our quiet Dallas suburb was alive with the hum of family chatter, the scent of barbecue ribs wafting through the warm afternoon air, and blue balloons bobbing lazily in the breeze. I'd poured my soul into this day for little Ethan, our boy. Our miracle after years of whispered prayers and quiet hopes. But as the guests sang happy birthday, their voices a cheerful chorus under the string lights, my husband, Mark, slipped an envelope into my hand with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Read it later," he murmured, his breath cool against my ear like a stranger's touch. I tucked it away, forcing a laugh for the cameras. But deep down, a crack formed in the fragile shell I'd built around my heart. That envelope wasn't a card or a gift. It was the end, or so he thought. What Mark didn't know is that my silence, the one he'd mistaken for weakness, was sharpening into something lethal. A blade forged from months of betrayal and unspoken rage. The party blurred on around me. Kids chasing each other across the manicured lawn. Ants cooing over Ethan's chubby cheeks smeared with frosting. I bounced him on my hip, whispering sweet nothings to drown out the storm building inside. Mark played the perfect host, flipping burgers with that easy charm he'd once used to win me over. Back when love felt like a promise etched in stone. But as I finally stole away to the kitchen, away from prying eyes, I slit open the envelope. The words hit like a sucker punch: petition for dissolution of marriage. Filed quietly in the Dallas County Courthouse just days ago. Grounds: irreconcilable differences. No mention of the late nights. The secret smiles at his phone. The floral perfume that clung to his shirts like a ghost. He wanted out. Clean and simple. On our son's first birthday. The cruelty of it twisted in my gut, not just the act, but the timing. Chosen to gut me when I was most vulnerable. Surrounded by witnesses to my humiliation. I gripped the counter, knuckles white, forcing air into lungs that burned. No tears. Not yet. Instead, a cold resolve settled in. The kind that comes from realizing you've been a fool, but now the fool's game is over. Before all this, I was Emily Thompson, the girl who believed in forever. Mark and I met at a rainy farmer's market in Austin, where he shielded me from the downpour with his leather jacket, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. He was a rising architect then, sketching dreams on napkins, while I taught high school English, grading papers late into the night with a cup of herbal tea. Our love was the stuff of Hallmark cards, weekend hikes in the hill country, stolen kisses under live oaks, promises whispered in the dark about building a life together. We married in a simple courthouse ceremony, followed by a backyard reception much like this one. Toasts raised to our unbreakable bond. When Ethan came along after a grueling labor that left me shattered but whole, Mark held him first. Tears streaming down his face. "He's perfect," he'd said, voice thick with awe. We painted the nursery in soft grays and blues, assembled the crib with laughter and sweat, dreamed of family road trips to the Grand Canyon. But somewhere between the sleepless nights and the spit-up stains, the cracks appeared, not loud, but insidious, like termites hollowing out a foundation. It started small. Mark pulling away, his touches growing rare, his eyes distant during dinner conversations that once flowed like wine. I'd blame the stress of his job, long hours at the firm, deadlines piling up like unpaid bills. But then came the gym sessions that stretched into evenings, the client meetings that ended with him stumbling home at midnight, reeking of something sweet and unfamiliar. I'd lie awake, Ethan's monitor humming softly, wondering if it was me, the extra curves from motherhood, the exhaustion that dulled my spark. I tried harder. slipping into lacy things I'd bought on impulse, cooking his favorite brisket even when my bones ached. "What's wrong?" I'd ask, voice soft, pleading. He'd shrug, mutter nothing. "Babe, just tired," and scroll through his phone, that secret glow lighting his face in the dim room. The silence grew, a heavy blanket smothering what was left of us. My sister, Rachel, noticed first during a coffee run at our local spot. "You look like a ghost," she said, cradling Ethan while he napped. I waved it off, but her words lingered, a seed of doubt taking root. The gut punches came in waves. A stray earring in his car pocket, gold. Delicate. Not mine. He claimed it was from a colleague's wife at a work event. Then the texts, buzzing at odd hours, his body tensing when I glanced over. One night, I caught a glimpse. "Can't wait to see you again." Heart hammering. I pretended not to see, but the poison seeped in. Rachel pushed me to snoop, but I resisted until I couldn't. While he showered, I unlocked his phone with the code he'd never changed, our wedding date. Messages poured out like venom, dinners at upscale spots downtown, weekends away for work that matched hotel receipts I'd found crumpled in his laundry. Her name was Sophia, a graphic designer from his office. All sharp angles and carefree laughs in the photos he hadn't deleted. They'd been at it for months, building a secret world while I rocked our son through colic and fevers. The betrayal wasn't just physical, it was the erasure of me. The way he'd rewritten our story without a word, leaving me to play the oblivious wife. That discovery didn't break me into sobs. It ignited a quiet fury, the kind that simmers low and builds pressure until it erupts. I didn't confront him that night. Instead, I documented screenshots saved to a hidden folder, timelines jotted in a notebook tucked under baby blankets. I whispered to Ethan as he slept, "Mommy's got this." Little man. The pain twisted deeper with each lie he fed me, but it fueled my plan. I opened a secret savings account at a credit union across town, funneling in freelance tutoring gigs and birthday cash from Mom. Copies of deeds, pay stubs, insurance, all stashed in a lockbox at Rachel's place. I consulted a family lawyer in hushed calls from the park, learning about Texas no-fault divorces, custody battles, asset splits. The law was cold, but fair. Adultery might not sway the judge, but patterns of neglect could. Mark thought my silence meant surrender. He was wrong. It was strategy, born from the ache of being invisible in my own home, the rage of watching him play father only for show. As Ethan's birthday approached, I wove my web tighter. The party would be flawless, catered Tex-Mex, a bounce house for the kids, that custom cake I'd ordered weeks ago. Mark helped minimally, showing up with drinks like it was an afterthought. But I smiled, played the doting wife, all while my own papers waited, filed discreetly with requests for primary custody and alimony. The day dawned bright, and I chose my armor, a crimson sundress that hugged my curves, makeup that hid the shadows under my eyes. As guests arrived, neighbors, co-workers, family, the tension coiled like a spring. Mark mingled, phone in pocket, oblivious. Then, amid the song and cheers, he pressed that envelope into my palm. The audacity to blindside me here. In this sacred space of joy, snapped something final. But I held steady, letting the hurt transmute into power. The applause faded, and I seized the moment. Stepping to the makeshift podium we'd set for toasts, I tapped the mic, heart thundering. "Thank you all for celebrating Ethan," I began, voice steady despite the quake inside. Heads turned, smiles expectant. This day means everything to me as a mother, as a wife. I paused, letting the words hang. But today, while holding our son. I was handed divorce papers. Murmurs rippled. Eyes widening. Mark froze, his charm cracking like cheap glass. I've known about the affair for months, I continued, voice rising with the swell of truth. The late nights. The lies. Sophia. Gasps echoed. Forks clattered. His face drained of color. Jaw set in silent fury. So, I filed too for divorce. For custody. For the life Ethan and I deserve. The yard fell deathly quiet. The breeze the only sound. Rachel nodded from the crowd. Mom's eyes fierce with pride. Mark stepped forward, whispering urgently. Not here. But I met his gaze. Unyielding. You chose here. Now live with it. The fallout was swift. Brutal. Guests shuffled out awkwardly, avoiding Mark's eyes, whispers trailing like smoke. He cornered me inside, voice low and desperate. I didn't mean for this, I cut him off. Fire in my veins. You meant to humiliate me. But you forgot I built this family. And I'll rebuild without you. That night, I packed Ethan's essentials and drove to Mom's. The Dallas lights blurring through tears that finally fell, not of defeat, but release. Mark called, texted, begged for talks. But my silence was absolute now. A wall he'd never breach. The divorce dragged through courts. His affair exposed in depositions. Custody leaning my way after evidence of his absences piled up. He lost friends. His polished image tarnished. The price of his choices etched in every lonely night. Revenge wasn't sweet, it was necessary. Born from the ashes of trust shattered. Ethan and I, we thrived new home. New routines. Laughter filling the voids. But the scars lingered. A reminder that love's betrayal cuts deepest. And silence can be the loudest roar.